starts hiking.
Yes.
Hello, friends, and thanks for tuning in to Perry Live with Ron Drake. I am really excited about this episode. We've been talking about it for a little bit of time now, and so Perry Live is a show that's for you, the citizens of Perry, and those on the outskirts of Perry that want to learn about this downtown revitalization effort that we have going on here. And so we're really excited. There's already we talked about momentum right before the show. There's some momentum already happening in downtown Perry. So we want to just talk about it and share and help you, the viewer, understand what we have going on. So I thought, who better than to help us on our third episode than my now becoming good friend, Crystal Gilbreth. Crystal, thank you for being on the show with me today.
Thank you for having me, Ron.
Crystal, I got to tell you something about her. So when I first met you, I don't know if you remember this or not. I'm in town for my first 3-day consultation. Is that, do I say that right? And the Oklahoma City News showed up.
Oh, yes.
And we're up on the second floor of one of the buildings, and so I'm like, hey, you, whoever you are, would you hold my phone and maybe even take a picture of the news and put it on my social media? And you're like, sure. So I'm being interviewed by the OKC News channel or whatever. 5 minutes later, you hand me my phone back, and I've got like 20 selfies of you.
And Kayla.
And Kayla. And John Wayne.
Yes. I don't know if John Wayne is still there or not.
I think John Wayne is still there.
Okay.
So anyway, I was like, okay, you're obviously pretty fun.
I try to be.
Yeah. So tell me, that was pretty funny. So tell me a little bit about yourself. I, follow you on social media and see you around town, but tell me a little bit about yourself and who you are and what you're doing here in Perry.
Well, since this is council related, my mother was a council member in the early 90s, and I used to read her agendas. I couldn't get into the confidential because I was too naive and didn't know how to break into those, but it embedded, I guess, a fascination. Anyways, later on, got married, had kids. There was a situation where a ordinance affected me personally.
Oh, yeah.
And so I researched from the State Department down to our local businesses, confronted, talked to the council, and ultimately had an ordinance changed, reworded, and the procedures changed. So I felt pretty good about that one. And from that on, I started questioning more about why things are going on, why we do the things we do here. And 2 years ago, I put my name to my mouth and ran. Ran unopposed, so I walked on. And the last 2 years have just been enlightening and frustrating and educational.
So you kind of took my second question, because my second question was going to be about city council. But I wrote down that running for city council, being on city council is kind of a thankless job.
Yes.
And yet you still chose to do it anyway.
I enjoy debate.
Okay.
I'm a big advocate in education, so I feel like my position more or less is talking to the typical citizen in layman terms. It may not be what they want to hear, but I'm trying to explain to them why the different laws and different types of fundings restrict us from doing the things that we would love to happen and the things that we have to happen. So
I think it's important. One of the things I appreciate about what you just saying in your story even earlier, I never ran for city council because I always lived just outside of the city limits, but I was able to run for, as a planning commissioner. And part of the reason I was passionate in getting involved in planning and zoning in my community, Siloam Springs, which is 2.5 hours, 3 hours from here, is because same thing. I was trying to do some development in our downtown. Our codes for downtown weren't current. Our zoning didn't allow for it, and the parking ordinances and all of these things. So, sometimes you can sit back and just complain about it and write nasty Facebook messages and all of these things to the city. Yes. Or you can decide, I'm going to be the person that gets on there and gets involved and tries to help. And that's what I did. And so I appreciate, it sounds like that's what you felt like you needed to do as well.
Yeah, sometimes I like to strike up debate to get other opinions. And then sometimes I like to get in the middle of some debates that are pointless to throw some education out there and mediate it all.
Yeah.
It just depends my mood.
Yeah. Well, great. You know, here I am. I'm working here in Perry, and we've started this show, and we're having all kinds of fun. And so, how important is it to you? And maybe I'll even two-part question here. How important it is to you, and then maybe can you speak a little bit on the behalf of your fellow councilmen, council people, on the importance of this downtown effort?
I think, well, with Walmart leaving, that's been a big struggle, and we've got some other current issues going on in town that, starting somewhere, I guess in my opinion, I don't know if it's the general opinion of the council, needs to happen somewhere. I know that one of the questions here is about the interstate, and we all acknowledge that the interstate is the money maker, but being able to draw them in off the interstate into town creates more revenue for everybody, not just in one particular area.
Right.
And I think that maybe that is part of why downtown is important to us.
And so do you feel like that's kind of a general consensus amongst the
I think so.
council?
All of us that are on council have lived in this town for at least 20 years, and we grew up here, and it used to be thriving, and
Right.
a lot of them are vacant, a lot of them are used for storage, but I think a lot of us would like to, it's not necessarily to see our childhood come back, but
Right.
to see the vibrance back down here.
Yeah, and when Mayor Johnson was on a couple of episodes ago, we talked about that, how the importance of bringing the vibrancy back. But you know, we're not going to bring it back to where it was when you were
Right.
when you were kids. I mean, that season in American history is gone. But I do believe, and we know it because we can go to bigger cities and see it.
Yes.
That it's very possible.
Yes.
Very possible for downtown to come back to life.
Well, and that's your Festival of the Arts, or the
Yeah,
Alley of the Arts.
Alley of the Arts. Yeah.
I love traveling and visiting different places, and one of the things that I liked and loved and was a big proponent on, which may have been about drinking, but was the Alley of the Arts, and how it was just, you know, a conglomerate
Yeah.
of people, and like Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Stillwater, they all do it, and there's no reason why we can't do that too.
Right, and you know that I appreciate that you kind of mentioned the drinking thing, because everybody's always worried. I know that Kayla got into a little bit of, I don't want to say trouble, but some tensions when she was talking about bringing in a craft beer trailer. There wasn't drunk people wandering
No.
the streets or anything. You know, it was just people like you and I want to have a good time. You know, yeah, we grabbed a beer and looked at some of the art things and had, you know, I mean, it was just a
Yes.
fun, safe time. And these types of events are not the types of events that are going to attract the type of attention we don't want.
Yeah, they're not concerts where everybody's getting trashed
Yeah.
and
Right.
what all's going on there.
But we still, I think, because when a town hasn't done something like that in a long time, we tend to gravitate towards maybe what all the things that can go wrong,
Right.
rather than focus on all the things that can be beautiful. And you know, I appreciate that you mentioned the Alley of the Arts. It's that event comes up over and over and over in conversation, and really, honestly, was for me in my career was one of my highlights of all of 2017. It's what you guys were able to accomplish in 24 hours with very little heads up on my end to even ask Kayla, hey, in 2 weeks, can you guys do an event, you know? So anyway, I think it speaks volumes to Perry and the people of Perry.
Well, I enjoy the sign that's sitting behind City Hall from the Alley of the Arts. My daughter took, or one of her senior pictures was there behind it, and the photographer wanted to take a picture there, but with the verbiage of Hell's Half Acre, I said, nope, I want it. That is Perry's history. Put it on there.
That's right.
It's
That's
one of
right.
my favorite pictures.
Yeah. Okay, so we're changing things up a little bit on the show. You were tasked with coming up with a Perry fun fact, and I think you said you have it on your phone.
Yes,
Do you have it ready to go
I
to
have it
look
ready.
up? Okay, so what's
so
Perry fun fact?
the Perry fun fact, I was going to talk about Hell's Half Acre because it revolves around Main Street downtown. But I don't know, I just didn't want to research as much further than what I knew.
Okay.
So in light of homecoming week that is happening in a week and a half for
Okay.
wrestling, I hit up my live-in expert.
Okay.
And I did have to write it down, and I have to recite off here because I don't want
Okay.
any of the numbers to be confused and I
Okay.
get in trouble.
All right. That
So,
sounds great.
The fun fact I have for Perry, Perry is the wrestling capital of the world
Right.
with 41 team state titles, 164
41.
individual state titles.
Wow.
Last season was the 9th straight dual state title
Wow.
with 18 dual state titles won total. Recently, Coach Ronnie Delk got his 100th win against Edmond Memorial. And the team also got 8th out of 41 teams at Kansas City Invitational Stampede, which is an elite tournament that nationally ranked teams from 11 states participate in.
That's amazing.
So there is
That is
a
amazing.
fun fact with
Fun fact.
numbers.
It's sometimes those numbers almost seem so high. It's hard to even fathom how incredible this dynasty is
Yes.
of wrestling.
I agree.
And there's a beautiful memorial, wrestling memorial, just almost directly across from us here on the
Yes.
square. So, thank you for that fun fact.
Sure.
Yeah, that was a lot of facts. That was a
Yes.
fun facts.
Well, fun numbers.
So, you serve the people. And so we thought it would be fun if you would represent the people on this episode and you ask me some of the questions. We kind of reached out to the public, and you did a Facebook post and Main Street did, and then we just had, over the past couple of weeks, just kind of random people come up to me or Kayla or to you possibly and asking questions about what's going on. And so we thought it'd be fun if you would represent the people, maybe ask me some questions, and if I can't answer them, I'm going to come back to you because I know you have all the answers.
Okay. Let's do this.
All right.
Okay, first question is,
Okay.
who are you and why are you here?
That's a good question. So as you know, questions for Ron Drake. You see that my name is Ron Drake. And I am a downtown consultant. I was a downtown developer turned consultant. I restored 15 buildings in my community of 15,000 people and was really fortunate to see it go from an unlively downtown into now, according to Smithsonian Magazine, one of the best in America. And so I decided, maybe there's nobody helping small towns in America, and maybe it was my next season in life was I needed to do that. And so I, intentionally kind of started consulting, and I've been really fortunate to have pretty good success. And, Oklahoma is a neighbor of mine. I'm just literally right across the border in Silent Springs, Arkansas, which is just right there, right? The first town you hit on Highway 412, so the same highway. We share the same highway. And so it makes sense that I'm doing a lot of work in Oklahoma. We're neighbors. And I've been really fortunate to probably work in over a dozen Oklahoma towns. So, and I've worked in communities that have struggled, far greater struggle than Perry, and we're seeing some really great success there. So I know it's possible. And so I, encourage you to listen to Flip This Town podcast, do a shameless plug, and you can hear about some of these communities I'm working in, not just in Oklahoma, but across the country. But when I came to Perry, it was something very special. And, maybe it was getting my phone back with your selfies. Going,
He needs more selfies.
There's some fun. I don't have enough selfies in my life. Maybe there's some fun people in this town. But, it was such a good consultation. Examples of like the Alley of the Arts, really good meetings with Ditch Witch and Charles Machine Works. And so basically, the Charles Machine Works, CMW, kind of connected me with an avenue to work here. And so I'm here on a 6-month contract, maybe longer, but right now it's 6 months, and I'm going to do as much as I can in 6 months to get the ball rolling. And we already are. We literally today was getting a final approval on a full set of floor plans for an awesome boutique shop, a restaurant, and 2 loft apartments on the 2nd floor.
Is that the one we saw?
The one over there?
Oh, I don't know.
No, this is right down on this street right here.
Oh, okay.
Right down the road. The name of the restaurant's going to be called The Local. And The Local, food and drinks, that's not right. It's something like that, but I can't believe I forgot that. But anyway, we already have projects started, and so that's what I'm here for. I'm working with the city on on, you know, what's the process with the building permits? What can we do to make things smoother? Well, I'm working with Main Street, you know, every day I'm here, and today we've talked with a local business owner that has a need for expansion, so we're going to try to help with that. And I mean, anything I can do as it relates to the downtown, I'm here, and I have resources from all over the country that I can help bring in. So that's who Ron Drake is, and that's what I'm doing in Perry, is help revitalize downtown Perry.
What month is Ron Drake in on his 6-month contract?
What month does it end?
No, what month are you on right now?
What month am I in? I started October 1, so I've I guess I'm 3 months in.
Okay. Well, the next one is, how can you help lower our electric bills?
Well, every time, that's a great one. Every town I come to, I bring a magic wand.
Need more Harry Potter wands.
All right, so that's one of the things I've heard over and over again. You know, there's part of me wants to say, hey, everything else is so affordable, to have a little bit of high utility rates isn't a deal killer. I mean, your house payment is low because of property values are lower. So there's different things we can take a look at it. We all know that cities can only make money, you know, in a limited amount of ways. I think that, you know, maybe we could make a suggestion. You could lower the utility rates and cancel the fire department, you know, or stop doing trash pickup. You know, we want these community services and we need them. So I think the magic wand here is to increase sales tax. And so we took a big hit when Walmart left. But, you know, I think that Perry is rallying and deciding, okay, we're not going to give up. And so I think that's part of this downtown effort. You know, there's some great statistics out there, and I encourage you to Google them. Don't just believe me. But, you know, the general idea is every dollar that's spent in your own town, that sales tax recirculates within your town 6 times over, or 60%. No, wait a minute. For every dollar, 60 cents stays in town, all right? It keeps recirculating. The big box stores, every dollar, only 10% of that stays in town. So even though we get more sales tax on the franchise, that money doesn't stay in town so much. So if we want to continue, if we want to lower our rates, we've got to increase the sales tax, spend more money in Perry. It's a process, guys. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yes.
But that's the general rule. Am I right? Am I
I totally
accurate?
agree, yes. Next question. Why are we better off focusing on downtown versus collecting profit off of people passing by on the interstate? Similar to my question.
Similar to your question?
That you gave me.
Yeah. I think I maybe partly answered it on that last one, right? I mean, the importance of spending money in town and let those tax dollars recirculate in town. I think the other part is, yeah, it'd be great to have someone stop at a gas station and fill up their car and drive off. It'd be better to have them stop at the gas station and someone tell them, hey, have you been downtown? We've got 3 or 4 great restaurants. There's all these shops. So now what would be a $50 doom and gone could end up being a $200 stay, maybe even stay the night. We have great hotels. I think that for me, the more important aspect is this is the heart of Perry. So maybe what we should do is just tear down all the buildings because they're going to fall down if we don't renovate them.
Right. Yes. That's
So
true.
maybe we should just eliminate downtown Perry and build a big giant, you know, metal building. Let's propose that, City Council. That would be a whole lot easier.
If we want to, that's fine.
So of course we don't want to do that. We need to save the history and save the
Right.
buildings. It's one of the more charming downtowns in Oklahoma. And so in order to save the buildings and the history, we've got to fill them full of life and people.
Are there many buildings downtown eligible for preservation grants that owners could apply for?
So there's sometimes a misconception between grant and tax credits, and I'm assuming that's probably where they're going. I am not really familiar with that much free money unless you're going to build a library or, you know, children's something. Most of the buildings down the square, in fact, I think all of the buildings around the square are eligible for historic rehabilitation tax credits. Now, I'm going to give a real brief because it's more complicated than I'm going to make it sound, but it's a beautiful thing. So the project we're doing right down here, it's in the old Pencoat building. These aren't the numbers, let's just say they're the numbers. just to keep it easy. So if they spend $500,000 renovating that building, which is a big number, but if you're going to put in a restaurant, 2 loft apartments, and it's a 5,000 square foot building, you're going to spend some money, but they're not going to spend that much. So if let me just keep it even more simple. Let's say it's a $100,000 renovation. With the tax credits, you get 20% back in federal and 20% back in state. So you spend $100,000, you get a $20,000 credit for state, $20,000 credit for federal. So you get $40,000 of credits. Now, what does that mean? It means for the next X amount of years with the federal, you don't have to pay income tax until you use all that 20 grand. So hopefully you've got a really successful restaurant that has to pay $10,000 in taxes.
Right.
Well, you don't have to pay $10,000 the next year or the next year until you use up that money. The state, on the other hand, you can actually even sell for like 90 cents on the dollar. There's people that buy tax credits. Maybe even large corporations here would be willing to buy them, because if they have a big tax bill, why not get 10% off their tax bill for free, right? So they can buy the tax credits, you can turn around and put that towards your project. So it's a really, really great, it almost got axed with the new tax cuts, but fortunately the government saw that this was one of the tax credits. It's one of the few, actually, out of all the tax credits. There was a lot of different tax credits that were out there, but this is one of the ones that have been proven over and over and over again statistically. It really works, and it's helping small town America.
I'm guessing this may be a little bit of a facetious question, but will you bring Walmart back?
No. Walmart kind of made a decision across the country. They tried the small town. I know they were in your town for a lot longer than they were in a lot of towns. And even in I kind of live in Walmart country, and they were coming to small towns and stayed 2-3 years and they moved out. That actually may have done as much or more harm than what happened here, because when they moved in, stores that were open closed. Now they moved out and there's nothing. So at least you still had some healthy competition throughout the years. So Walmart's not looking here, and so I think it's just a reality of what can we do? What can we do that's not Walmart? And I think, again, this effort that's going on here, it's going to build community pride. People are, again, a reality. When I know what it's like when these corporate guys come into a town. They want to look around the whole town. They want to experience the town. And if it doesn't feel good, there's plenty of 5,000 population towns in America they can go to. So if we can create a culture within the community that feels good, then yeah, we're going to be surprised at what's going to happen, who's going to come in.
Looks like the last question I have is, are you the hero to save Harry?
Oh, I am far from a hero. That question came up, actually. That's funny, because that question came up, I think, on the Main Street page before I came the first time. And it was a lot of, at that time, the emotions were really high, because that was when I think literally like a week or two before I'm coming,
Yes.
Kayla texts me and says, hey, Walmart's closing, and that's going to be crazy. And so, no, I am not the hero. But what I truly believe, and again, as I've experienced it in communities throughout America and Oklahoma, the hero is already in your town. The hero is in this town.
It's all of us.
That's right. And there's certain people that are going to step up and buy buildings and they're heroes. There's people that are opening businesses, and they're the heroes. I'm just kind of here to help lift you up. I'm going to help you find. I'm going to help find those heroes, and I'm going to help. There's some people that are heroes and don't know it yet, and I'm going to help you find them and lift them up. And the real heroes are the people that pay her.
All right. Well,
Good
that's all the
questions.
questions I have for you.
Okay, so we are about to wrap up, but I thought it would be fun. Something I'm doing with every episode is I'm going to ask you 3 questions. And
Okay.
if you answer all 3 questions correctly, you get a Perry Live
I get
with
to
Ron
keep
Drake
the
coffee
mug that
mug
I've stained.
with the hashtag Flip This Town. Thanks, Red Earth Designs, for those mugs.
All right.
So, question number 1. On average, how many Snapchats do you send during council meetings?
It depends if Kayla's there.
Okay. That's it? It depends on if Kayla's there?
Yeah.
On average.
On average, 2 or 3, but I keep it closed during executive meeting.
Executive session. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Okay. So this one we might have to go quickly, but so I hear you have a PhD.
Yes, I do.
Perry High School diploma.
Yes.
What's your favorite Perry story?
I don't know that I really have one. Just, I don't know, being here in general and causing ruckus is my stories all the time. I don't
So
know.
maybe that leads into my final question. And really, this is the true question that earns you the free mug. I don't know if you've answered the other two questions yet. We've been friends on Facebook for about 6 months now, and you have a lot of funny and interesting posts.
Yeah, normally.
What's your most embarrassing social media moment?
I'm not really sure. I think that probably if someone one-ups me, that's probably my most embarrassing moment. I like to get the dig in, and there's some people that can one-up me, and then I have to give them props because I'm like, all right, good. So I don't know that I really have an embarrassing moment. If I do, I lock it down or delete it. So
That's the wise thing to do right there. Well, thank you for being on my show or on our show, and you know, more importantly, thank you for your service
Thanks.
to Perry.
It's
I know
fun.
we've had some fun here today, but I do appreciate all that you do, and encourage you to continue, and encourage you, the viewer, to get involved. You know, again, it's easy to sit back on your computer and type about all the things that the city is doing wrong. There are plenty of ways to get involved, and plenty of times people talk to and can, you know, maybe help you understand exactly what's going on in Perry.
Well, we appreciate you being here. It may have been the sunshine to our cloudy day. Regardless of what happened, you at least brought, I think, a little bit of light to
Good.
all of us. So.
Yeah, I'm fortunate to be here. So, friends, thanks for turning in to Perry Live with Ron Drake. I hope you enjoyed it, and be watching for us next week, Thursdays at 2.